Let me tell you about the 2 reasons everybody should be watching Stranger Things. Alright guys, thanks for watching another video. As you can see by those pictures, Stranger Things is my jam. It takes place in the decade where I was born and lived through the 80s, and that's my number one reason. If you were born in the 70s or late 70s and you lived through the 80s, this is your jam right here. Just having a look at the work that these guys have done to maintain this really tight 1980s atmosphere throughout season 1, 2, and 3 is absolutely outstanding. Alright, now having a show about the 1980s and just having 1980s stuff just all mixed in there is one thing. But what these guys are doing is subtly introducing year by year from season 1 to season 3 very subtle changes in what was going on from year to year. Like what was in fashion. You can see the style difference between season 1 and season 3. A great example is there was a Jobbers hat in there. And I don't know if you guys remember Jobbers, but in Hawaii we called them Jobbers. It was a hat with 2 flaps in the back. If you were a break dancer or a popper, that's what you wore. You had a jobber's hat, so that's in there. There was a gigantic station wagon that's bigger than anything that I can ever remember from the 1980s. And I don't know if you've ever been stuffed in the back of one of those things, but you're just kind of rolling around back there with that little window that slid down. So that's in there too. The 1980s mall that they built was just incredibly accurate, with neon stuff bending around the sides of the pink and the blue. You had the old Gap logo, the old hot dog and a stick uniform. There was a movie theater in there showing Back to the Future. Multiple mentions of Phoebe Cates. I bet you there's tons of young kids looking out like, who's Phoebe Cates? Banging. And of course, a mention of Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So all of that stuff is in there. And you also have a scene in the store going down the cereal aisle. There was a Mr. T box cereal. Remember that? I pity the fool that don't eat my cereal. Right next to that was Ghostbusters. They were eating out of a Cocoa Puffs box. Remember that crazy bird, right? I go Cocoa for Cocoa Puffs. He was in that. The weird shaped Coke cans, which will be for sale very soon. That was in there. All that create. There's a 2600. There's an Atari 2600. See if you guys can find that. And down to the super small details. I don't know if you guys seen this, but Chief's revolver, when he cocked it back, the firing pin was actually attached to the hammer. It's called a spurred hammer. Modern day revolvers don't have that. 80s, 70s, and before that all had the firing pin attached to the hammer. All newer ones have an internal firing pin. So they get everything down to a real small detail that is just really nostalgic. And that for me is one of the big reasons I like watching Stranger Things. It takes me back. Now, it doesn't matter if you weren't born in the 70s or lived through the 80s. The fact of the matter is, having all of those props and things to show that it's from the 1980s, it's just cherry on top. The thing that really drives this show is the great writing and the actors that they picked to bring these characters to life. And I'm amazed at how they're able to do this, because when I really have a look at it, there's 3 sets of characters, right? You got the parents, the older guys, then you got the 3 middle kids, and you got the 4 boys and the 2 girls, all different age ranges, all interacting with each other. And by the ending of the show, you're so invested in them that you're kind of bummed out when the season ends, because you want to see what else is going on in their lives. Yes, you've got this titanic battle between good and evil, but that's just kind of on the side, and that's how you know you have a really good show, is that you're just kind of interested in this stuff over here. It drives the action. It's really exciting. It gives suspense to the actual story, but what gives life to the story is what the actors are bringing to the characters, and they have an excellent cast, and it's so well written that sci-fi stuff is just kind of extra on the side. So if you guys haven't started watching Stranger Things, give it a go. You're going to see a really great storyline. It'll take you back to the 80s. And if you know somebody by some strange chance that hasn't heard of Stranger Things and they lived through the 80s, tell them to start watching it, because it's going to be a blast from the past. Guys, that's the ending of the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you liked it, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to Chemo365, please do. And remember, I'll catch you guys later.